All praises due to the Most High family. We back with another Acres anime review. I just finished watching, family, episode 56 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I get it. I get it now. I get the Higuruma hype. I think I'm bought in. Do we get more of him? Y'all, okay, so this whole fight is basically just Yuji and Higuruma, right? We hoping to use his 100 points, right? And that didn't seem as big of an ask as it is until the end of the episode, honestly. But anyhow, family, Higuruma's domain, right? He's a lawyer, family. And we got a flashback explaining that basically he's always been the top of the top. It was easy for him to digest and explain and articulate information. Law school was a breeze for him. And so the narrator this happened after the domain, after the trial. But family, sorry, I got it a little twisted here. But family, just to finish my thought, that expertise and that ease in his development translated to his understanding of his sorcery and his cursed energy. Over the course of 2 weeks, fighting so many other sorcerers, he very quickly developed a keen understanding of his powers, right? And it is on full display when he's fighting Yuji, right? Okay, but so here's how the power, or at least the domain, works. It puts us on trial, right? Higuruma's a lawyer. Now, Higuruma's only the prosecutor. He's only the prosecution. He's not the judge. He has created a Shikigami that is an independent arbiter of the sentence, right? So Higuruma does not hand out a guilty or innocent sentence, nor does he determine the charge as a result of the sentencing, right? Now the Shikigami, I forgot the name of it, but it has a specific name. But it hands Higuruma a piece of evidence. Now, this I'm confused about, family. Help me understand in the comments, for real. I thought Higuruma said that the Shikigami does not tell him what evidence goes in the envelope. But at the end of the episode, I think it said that it did explain the evidence to Higuruma, because this informed Higuruma really about the retrial. Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. The first trial is Yuji is being accused of sneaking into a gambling place while being underage. And so he is given 3 options. You can stay silent, you can deny, or you can stay silent and deny, you can admit guilt, or you can lie and deny, right? So you can take a passive denial, an active denial, or you can admit guilt. And you don't know what, and Higuruma did explain that this evidence does not necessarily confirm whether or not you're guilty, right? So part of determining your guilty status is what you divulge and what stance you take, right? Anyhow, Yuji fails the first trial because he tried to give a benign reason for why he might be in there, right? Because he thought about it and he thought this was his best bet. And the evidence was a photo of him waiting in the cash out line. And Yuji said, "Oh, I was only in there to use the bathroom." So guilty. The sentencing, confiscation, which to any other sorcerer would have removed their cursed energy powers. but Yuji has none. Or he doesn't have a cursed technique, right? He does have cursed energy, but he doesn't have a cursed technique. So, to Yuji, it's really very little difference. Now, immediately, here's what I thought was funny, family. While we're in trial, there is no violence allowed. But as soon as the trial ended, Higuruma was on Yuji like white on rice. That was hilarious. And it was crazy how he was using the gavel. It reminds me of the power pole as a Dragon Ball fan, as a Sun Wukong fan. It reminded me of power pole, right? But very cool. It's like power pole and Thor's hammer type stuff. Man, in the things that Higuruma was doing, this dude's impressive. It was crazy. Like I'm a Higuruma fan now. At least for the time being. Now, while Yuji's struggling, and he's struggling, now Higuruma's thinking, dang, this guy's really durable. Like any other person, like I would have beat them off the first swing. But Yuji's a different case. Now, Yuji does get pinned down, and he realizes after high stress and a long pondering period, he realizes that he can demand a retrial. And that's how he gets out of having his back to the wall, right? Now, in the retrial, though, family, I'm thinking that it might be the same trial over again. No. This is a different trial. This trial is about Yuji taking all of those lives in the Shibuya incident. And Yuji just says, yeah, I did that. I'm guilty for that. In which case, the Shikigami dealt out a death sentence and confiscation, right? Confiscation really didn't make another difference, but it gave him a death sentence. So what this did, family, was it gave Higuruma this crazy sword. It reminds me of like Kizaru's sword from One Piece. But it says if it touches you at all, if it nicks your pinky, this is what I'm understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but how I picked up the explanation, if it nicks your pinky, donezo. That's it. That's a wrap. But Yuji's like, yeah, I did that. Like, I'm taking that. Now, Higuruma's wondering why, because he knows that Sukuna took over Yuji's body, and Yuji didn't have any agency in that instance. It's as if Yuji could have taken an insanity plea, and he didn't. And Higuruma's wondering, he's like, why didn't you just plead insanity? Like, you would have gotten off as innocent. Why would you take a guilty death penalty when you can come off innocent? Why would you do that? Which makes Higuruma have a flashback about one of his somebody, right? Somebody he was familiar with. I think it was actually the judge that he took the life of. I think that's actually who it was. I think another judge who was kind of like Higuruma's superior was like, hey, why don't you think about getting into judgment, into being a judge? And he kind of said that's not really his style. So I think that the significance of that flashback was to show that Higuruma in this instance did overrule a judgment he viewed was incorrect. Like he finally for once took the stance of judge. I think that was the significance of those things. Now, as he's about to give Yuji a final blow, he actually stops his curse technique, which confuses Yuji. Now, Yuji hits him, though. Like, Yuji hits him with his finishing blow. Okay, now Higuruma basically sympathizes with Yuji, I think like he did with the guy that he tried to get off before and failed in the retrial. But at the end of the day, family, Higuruma uses 100 of his own points for the sake of the rule that Yuji asked for so that they can transfer points. And then Higuruma also gives Yuji a point because remember, Yuji doesn't want to take anybody's life, which means he can't get points unless we make a rule that can transfer points, and Higuruma feels gracious enough to give him one. So now they're safe from losing their technique. All praise is due to the Most High, family. Peace and love.